Hey guys, back again with another impressions video, this time on the game Life is Strange. I played this on PC, so no physical copy to show you, but it's on PS4, Xbox One. It might even be on PS3 and 360, I'm not sure about that, probably though. And this is an episodic game similar to the Telltale games, and this is a type of game I've enjoyed for quite a long time, and Life is Strange, I've always looked at it, and it's always been an interesting game to me, but I was waiting till all the episodes were out. And episode 5 came out very recently. But Danny, Devilman Pie, he did a video on Life is Strange, like just gushing about it, and I was like, you know what, shit, the game's coming out so soon. I'm just gonna buy it and play through all the episodes, or the first 4 that were out at the time, because I've always wanted to play this game. And I know some people are probably going to want to wait for a physical copy of this game, and I can understand that because the Telltale games did eventually get physical copies. And I think there's like a 100% chance that a physical edition of Life is Strange is going to come out. So if you're waiting for a physical copy, that's fine. I can understand that. But if you don't care about having a physical copy, I would highly recommend playing this because I had a fantastic time with this game. I think this game is great. Now, that's not to say I don't have any issues with it, because I do. In fact, there's quite a few issues with this game. It's one of those games where it's very easy to find faults with it, but the game overall is just so good at what it does, and it's so genuine and well-intended that it's hard not to like the game. It really is. It really is. I'm gonna be spoiler-free here. It's one of those games where you could really go in depth with a lot of the choices you make, because yeah, it's a choice-driven game like with the Telltale games. But I'm gonna keep it spoiler-free. Just give a general gist of what the story is like, and then what the game's like, what I thought of it. But overall, I am definitely recommending this game. If it's something you're interested in, definitely give it a shot. But it is one of those things where I think a lot of people are going to be put off by it at first, mostly because of the dialogue. We'll get to that, but you got to stick with it. The more you stick with it, the more you'll like it, I think. It was definitely the case with me. Some episodes are better than others. Episode 4 is my favorite. Episode 2 and 5 are my least favorites, I think, combined. But yeah, we'll start with the story, which is the main part of this game. It's a story-driven game. You play as Maxine, and she's a high school senior in a boarding school, like with other high school seniors. And this boarding school is all about photography. At least I'm pretty sure. I can't remember exactly. I'm pretty sure, or it's if it's not about photography, it's like an art school, an art boarding school. And but you're a photography student, and the game starts you off in your classroom in your school, and basically you go to the bathroom, and this student comes in, and he's just ranting and raving, and you see another female student come in the bathroom, and they have a fight, and the female student gets shot, and Maxine kind of cries out and goes, "No!" And all of a sudden something crazy happens, and to keep it short, you get time powers. You're able to rewind time to a certain extent. So if you say, it's kind of like a butterfly effect thing. This game's got like a butterfly effect thing going on, where you can basically make your choice and then go back in time if you don't like it. And that's kind of the main hook of the game, is using this time power that you get to kind of rewind time in certain areas, and you're trying to figure out this mystery that's going throughout the school. And there's 3 movies that this game reminds me of, along with Twin Peaks, actually, the show Twin Peaks, because this takes place in the Pacific Northwest, and it's got a lot of references to the Twin Peaks, a lot of movie references and TV show references in general. But the 3 movies that this game reminds me of are Donnie Darko, The Butterfly Effect, obviously, and Brick, which is a lesser-known movie where it's like a kind of like a film noir, but set in a high school with high school students kind of figuring out the central mystery. Yeah, it reminded me of that in that way too. There's a lot of teen angst in this game. You've got a lot of, like, the game deals with a lot of interesting issues, really important issues. I don't really want to spoil some of them, because some of them would spoil significant moments of this game, but it deals with bullying, it deals with depression, social anxiety and things like that. And it's very genuine about these things. Like, this game is so well intended, even to the point where on the on the main title screen it says if you're dealing with any of the issues this game tackles, there's a helpline, for instance, or a website you can go to where you can check out different support groups. So the game is just so genuine in that way that it's very hard not to. It's very hard to hate the game. Now, the story, again, I'm not saying too much about it, but it's very interesting. Now, as far as choices go, yes, you're going to be making a bunch of choices in this game, but one of the issues I have with this game is that, like with the Telltale games, your choices don't matter all that much. They more matter in more subtle ways, which was a bit of a disappointment. I was actually expecting the choices to be a little more... I guess important, because I mean, right in the beginning of the game, it's saying your choices affect the past, present, and future. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So that was a bit of a bummer, I gotta say, but it wasn't too bad. It was still interesting making these choices and sticking with them, and it was interesting seeing what other choices other players made, because it does that kind of thing too, like with Telltale games, where at the end of each episode, it's all the different choices you made throughout that episode and what percentage of players did what, and that's always fun to see. The dialogue in this game is hit or miss. This is another one of the weak aspects of the game. It's one of those things where it takes place in a high school of sorts, right? So it comes across like the dialogue is really cringeworthy, like a lot of the time. Sometimes it's really good, but sometimes it's really cringeworthy. It's kind of that thing where it's like, you imagine like 40-year-olds writing this game and trying to think of how teenagers talk, and yeah, like you're hearing things like hella and like I can't think of other things, but it's the dialogue it can be rough, and all I can say to that is just give it a chance, try to look past it. Some of the characters also are a little irritating, but at the same time, a lot of the characters are really well developed. One character, in the beginning, I hated this character, but by the end of the game, I really enjoyed the character quite a bit. So, yeah, there's a lot of high school drama and things like that in this game, which that's kind of always been a guilty pleasure thing for me. Like high school movies and drama in general, for some strange reason, that's always been a guilty pleasure. So I really enjoyed that aspect to the game. Now the game's also very emotional. This game, of course, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's one moment in this game that really stuck with me. Like it just, oh man, like I felt. It's hard to describe what exactly I felt during this segment of the game, but it really caught me off guard, and I still think about it. It's just, I don't know, it really left a lasting impact on me. And the ending overall, or endings overall, some are better than others, I'll say that. Without spoiling too much, one of the endings is like extremely satisfying and amazing and emotional, and one of them it seems like an afterthought, and I just did not like it whatsoever. But some really nice emotional moments in this game, I must say. A lot of surprises too. Some plot twists that I gotta say I was not expecting, and then there was one major plot twist that I was kind of expecting, so it didn't hit as hard as it did for some people. I've seen some people say that twist was amazing. For me, I kind of saw it coming, but overall, the story, that's what you're playing this game for. The story and characters, I think, are really top-notch. The writing, less so. It can definitely be cringy at times, but overall, I still think it's a well-written game. So yeah, I guess we'll talk about the gameplay now. Similar to the Telltale games, you'll be roaming around the school, talking to characters, and there's a puzzle solving element to the game where you're using the butterfly effect to solve puzzles. And some of the puzzles are actually quite clever, while some of them are simple and a few of them are annoying. So it's kind of, I don't want to say hit or miss. I think they're mostly good, and I like what the puzzle solving adds to the game. I do think the game would be not quite as good if you removed a lot of that stuff. But other than that, that's about it for the gameplay. If you've played a Telltale episodic adventure game, you know what to expect with this one, but with probably a little more puzzle solving, I'd say. The controls are better too. I think the Maxine controls way better than the characters do in Telltale games, I must say. And I think overall your choices are a little more interesting in this game. I think I do like this game better than Telltale's games. I think this game does a lot better than those games in a lot of ways. But yeah, that about covers it from gameplay. You have like a cell phone that you can look at your text messages. You have a journal that you can keep reading, which is really cool. You know, you can take photos of random things throughout the world. That acts as like your collectibles that you can find. Apparently, it's an easy platinum if you care about that. Um, but visuals, it's actually sometimes this game can look really good. The character models I think are all pretty fantastic looking. The environments are nice. It's you know it's the game is very scaled down. Like you don't ever have massive environments to explore. And I think that's what keeps the game looking great. But the one thing I don't like is the hair. The hair on characters looks like plastic, and it's very distracting. But other than that, it's a good-looking game for an episodic game. I think on the technical side, it's much better than the Telltale games. Those games have always been glitchy and just janky in a lot of ways, and this game isn't for the most part. Episode 5, for whatever reason, I ran into more glitches and graphical glitches than the other episodes, but overall, it's a lot more technically stable. There's no frame rate problems to speak of, at least on PC. I don't know if that's different on the PS4 or Xbox One, but yeah, visually and in a technical sense, much better than the Telltale games. Audio-wise, the music is very indie rock. It fits. I gotta say, it does fit the game's style and setting. But as someone that hates indie rock, I hated the soundtrack in this game. I think there was one song I liked. I actually turned the music volume down after hearing the first few songs because I was like, this kind of music, I just can't stand it. But some people are gonna like it. That depends on your taste in music. I do have to say though, it does fit the game, the music that they chose. Voice acting is actually really good. Voice acting is fantastic in this game. There's only one character that has voice acting that I didn't think quite fit, but the voice acting, like with the Telltale games, is great. Maybe not quite up to the level of those games, but with an episodic game like that, you really have to have fantastic voice acting, and luckily it's really good here. But yeah, audio-wise, I guess that covers the audio. So yeah, I mean, I guess I've talked about everything. It's not the most complex game. I mean, if you played a Telltale game, you know what to expect. I'm gonna put up gameplay footage to give you a general feel of what the game's like. But yeah, it's one of the nice surprises of 2015. I gotta say, I was really like the game always looked interesting, but it was far better than I expected. And despite my issues and faults I had with it, I think overall it's still a very enjoyable game with great characters. Great emotional moments, and it's just so genuine that it's hard not to like it. So, like some of the humor too, I guess, falls flat on its face, and that's again due to the writing. But some people might find the game too hipster or whatever. I can understand some people just not liking the style of the game and just the high school angle that it has. But again, I think the central core mystery with this game is good. Like the plot is really quite good with plenty of surprises. But yeah, that's Life is Strange. Definitely check it out. It's a fantastic game. One of the best of 2015 for sure. But yeah, that's it, guys. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.